All right, we're official. We're going to call to order the Planning and Zoning meeting for the City of New Franklin on January 18th, 2024.
Okay, roll call. Ms. Huey.
Present.
Mr. Koheiser.
Here.
Mr. Conlon. Here. And Mr. Donatelli.
Here.
Ms. Stormer is ill this evening. She won't be here, and Mr. Perdine has an excused absence. So,
Can I get you to do me a favor? Would you move the sign-in sheet over here so any additional people don't have to come up to the front to thank you? I appreciate that. If you have not yet signed in, we would ask that you would come up and sign in. Before we proceed, we do have a very full house this evening. This is a public hearing. We'd ask that you keep all side conversations to a minimum so that we can actually conduct the meeting the way we're supposed to. All right, so here's my little sequence. The first thing we're going to do is notice public hearing.
copy of this.
Okay, there you go.
Okay, this public hearing has been duly advertised in the Southside News Leader weekly newspaper, as well as the City of New Franklin website. The City of New Franklin Planning and Zoning Commission is governed under Robert's Rules of Order. All comments and questions shall be directed to the chairperson of the commission throughout the duration of the entire public hearing. The audience must refrain from conducting any side conversations or interrupting the public hearing. Please be advised the commission may or may not render a decision on the items before it this evening. Additional information may be required from the respective applicants, or additional information may be sought from the city engineer, city law director, or other sources in order to reach an informed decision. Each person who wishes to speak this evening shall approach the front table and state his or her name and home address for the official record. Per the City of New Franklin zoning code, the time for each speaker is limited to 5 minutes. However, applicants may require more time to present their request to the commission. Please, only one person shall speak at a time. Lastly, each speaker will be administered a testimony oath by the chairperson before giving testimony before the commission.
I'm going to read the notice of public hearing. City of New Franklin Planning and Zoning Commission will hold a public hearing on Thursday, January 18, 2024 at 6:30 p.m. at the New Franklin City Hall, 5611 Manchester Road, New Franklin, Ohio, 44319, to hear the following request. 2024-PZC-01-Soric Farm LLC, 365 Center Road, New Franklin, Ohio, 44319. Requesting a conditional use permit and a major site plan review from A, Article 2, Section 200.4, A through G, conditional use permit, and from B, Article 2, Section 200.5, A through G, major site and building plan. And from C, Article 5, Section 500.01, community facilities, in order to establish an event center on an approximately 47.5 acre parcel, number 2301931, within the R2 medium density residential zoning district located at the aforementioned address. All right, so at this point, we are going to hear from the applicant. Are both of you going to speak? If we both just administer a testimony, say your name and address, and then we'll do one and we'll do the other.
David Kurkowski, 6545 Woody Avenue, Independence, Ohio. I'm the property owner of 365 Central Road.
Barry, we're doing a testimony.
Yes.
Okay. Please state, do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief?
Yes, I do.
Thank you.
Michael Wellman with Milk Architects, 1325 Inglewood Drive in Cleveland Heights.
Okay, and do you solemnly affirm the testimony you're about to give is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief? Thank you. Okay, and you may proceed.
Thank you. I'm just going to kind of run through the application we submitted, go over the narrative briefly, and then we can flip through the site plan and some of the other cash drawings and just give you an overview of the project. So the Soric Farm is located at 365 Center Road. It was purchased in 2021 by David Kurkowski, as mentioned earlier. As you stated, the property is currently zoned R2. On the property, there is an existing two-story barn, accompanying silo and attached milk shed to it, and also on the property are a detached one-car garage and a two-story farmhouse. So, I don't know if you all have this, back in here. So you can look at the site plan, the first large drawing.
Hodges, we don't have, we didn't bring a blow copy, so I can just hold this up. This is the only copy that you put out, so I apologize to you. People behind me, so.
Is what that shows.
Hold on, sorry, it's his turn to speak, we'll address your question shortly.
We can't hear them, no.
Okay, so hold on. We don't have a microphone system.
Well, I was
I'm not sure,
wondering- I
Scott?
was wondering if they could sit there and talk this way,
Oh,
possibly.
yes.
So, Paul, you've now interrupted twice, so I'm gonna ask you to, I'm trying to deal with it. Okay.
I apologize.
Okay, is this better?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. So I think you can see on the site plan, the items that I just listed off. Number one is, shows where the farmhouse is. Item number two shows where the barn is with the attached milk house. Item number three, the separate garage is item number four. And also next to the barn is item number five, which is the silo. So I'm just going to give a brief summary of what Mr. Rakowski intends to do with the property. The barn will be converted into a pre-season event space. Let's go on.
It is not registering.
Keep going as best I can.
We're gonna have Robert's will take it.
Number two.
Yeah.
Try this one. Yeah, this one is. The barn will be converted into a pre-season event space, and the intent is to hold weddings and reunions and picnics and events like that. We're going to add a couple of restrooms in the barn and in the milk shed. And the driveway will remain in its current location and be extended up the hill behind the barn to a parking area kind of at the top of the hill. And then, of course, we'll landscape around the barn with gardens and items like that. At the house, the farmhouse, a bedroom and a bathroom will be added on the first floor, and the house will be utilized as a short-term rental to accommodate individuals attending events at the barn. We currently have a building permit for the house itself, and construction is underway on renovating the farmhouse. The detached one-car garage will be converted to support space for events. We may stage photography there, and it may just be used for storage, or maybe able to set up an area for food, and stuff like that would support the events. But we're not going to actually cook any food on the property. There's not going to be any food service. Everything will be brought in by third-party caterers for any event that would happen in the barn. That kind of summarizes what we intend to do with the buildings on the property. As we flip through some of the other drawings in the set that you have, the next page kind of shows the setbacks from adjacent property lines, with the closest one being approximately 102 feet to the property to the west. The following page is really just a survey of the entire property. I think it's worth noting a couple things on this survey page. One item is that a portion of the land is currently farmed, and Dave intends to continue to farm that area. He's going to continue to lease a portion of that land to the farmer, and that's going to continue to occur on this site. The other interesting fact is that a good portion of the site is wooded, and Dave has entered into a contract with a forest management company that will help him manage that wooded portion of the property. This survey also kind of shows the strange condition of this property, where at the south end where the current driveway is, there is actually no access onto Center Road. It's a very odd condition. To resolve that condition, Dave has already put into place easements from neighbors on both sides of the property to allow the access drive to actually access through that little triangle on Center Street. So those easements are in place. If you flip to the next page, you can look at some quick renderings and floor plans of the barn and the house. The barn is in pretty rough shape right now. It is sliding down the hill. It needs a fair amount of work. Dave has already enlisted a barn restoration specialist, and we're also working on structural drawings to reinforce the foundation for the barn. He also stabilized it so that it wouldn't slide down the hill anymore this winter. So it's currently stable, and many more improvements are going to be made to it as we continue. If you flip to the next page, you can see the floor plans and a couple of existing photos. It's a lovely barn on the inside with a wonderful high ceiling. You can see the two restrooms that we're going to add, one on either end. And then it's really just going to be a main event space right in the middle. And then on the lower level, which is the bottom drawing, we'll also have a couple of restrooms, an additional event space down there. The following pages after that are kind of more construction drawings that just show the work that will be done to the barn, so you can kind of flip through those quickly. One of the pages shows the elevations with the silo next to it. Dave has recently had the foundation of the silo reinforced. It was also starting to slide down the hill. That problem has been remedied. New concrete footings have been poured, and the silo is now stable. After the barn drawings, we have a few images showing the farmhouse. Obviously, those pictures are kind of the older condition, the existing condition before we started to renovate it. And then the next page shows the two floor plans, the first floor and the second floor, with the new addition at the back right side of the first floor plan that shows an additional bedroom and bathroom that we're going to add to it. There's also a few photos of the existing indoor farmhouse. And then again, the following pages are kind of more construction drawings that show the new work and the renovation of the farmhouse building. So that's kind of the complete package that we submitted to you all. And that's most of my presentation. I don't know if Dave has more?
I just have a couple of comments. As Mike indicated, we really envisioned using it as a seasonal space, really just the spring, summer, and fall time. And currently, when we purchased the property back in 2021, there was approximately 13 acres that was farmed as hay production, and we're maintaining that with an existing local resident of New Franklin. And then, as Mike mentioned, we also ventured into the forest management program. That's it for about 28 acres. So between the hay production and the forest management plan, that's almost 41 acres. And with the forest management, what we're doing with is we're just going to maintain the land as it is, the trees as it is. Some people that approach us and say, hey, we want to come in and clear cut this. And, we could generate some money from that, but we just didn't want to take all those trees down. So basically what the forest management plan enables you to do is that you manage the growth of the forest, and then in approximately 10 years selectively cut some of the timber out, just for production, for some revenue. But at no point would it ever be clear cut just where it would be a clear field, because we think it's just a beautiful site by maintaining those trees. We want to maintain those trees. So then in the proposed site for the event center as well as a farmhouse, that's approximately 5 acres of the land that we own, and the rest of it is we're just going to leave it natural. We really envision it in just a natural environment. We want to maintain as much of that natural environment as possible. We will maintain as much as possible. Both the barn as well as the farmhouse have been listed on the National Register as historic places. The farmhouse was originally built in 1840, and then the barn was built in 1860 to 1870. It's, the consultant who we've been working with said that there's some timber in the barn that is reflective of pre-Civil War, but also some timber in the barn that was prepared for post-Civil War. So our objective is to maintain all that, and we're required to because of the properties being listed on the National Register as historic places. Mike had mentioned the easements. We do have copies of the easements that I can provide them to the board if you'd like, as well as the exhibit. And then I also have copies of the agricultural plan that were in place with Summit County, as well as a forest management plan. Anybody would like to see that documentation. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you for that. So I gotta go through a couple of formalities here as part of the commission, and then we'll get into a discussion. Are there any members of the commission who must abstain or has had ex parte communications with the applicant or anyone involved in this case? So, sorry. Am I treating Kevin as an expert witness, or is he, because he's a representative of the city?
He represents the city.
Okay, so at this point, I think I'm going to talk to Kevin Noble, our city engineer, present his discussion points.
I did take a look at this project. I received the plans about a week ago, and these are basically schematic level plans, and most of my review comments that I'll make here in the next couple minutes are going to relate to the drive. Really the site itself doesn't have a fully developed plan, but a couple of comments that I really wanted to bring forth were mostly related to traffic and how we're getting vehicles in and out. There is to the west of this drive, so right across the street we have Caitlin from us. To the west of this, we do have a little S-curve on Center Road, and problem you have sometimes with S-curves is just you have adequate sight distance. If I'm sitting at the drive, can I make a left or right-hand turn in enough time with the incoming traffic? ODOT does have standards, and based on the data that I've been provided, a lot of that's from the survey on one of the sheets, it looks like they do meet ODOT's safety requirements for sight distance. And so ODOT has some formulas that you can use. So based on that, they are able to make a left or right-hand turn adequately to meet ODOT conditions. The drive itself, a couple comments I made is, with this amount of traffic that I feel would be generated from an event, probably want to have an enlarged or an enhanced apron and entrance coming in. I would envision having at least 24-foot wide drive, 12-foot lane in, 12-foot lane out. One of my recommendations will be, and I'll maintain that for a while, that the out may want to have two lanes to it, one to right turn only, one left turn only, just to be able to get traffic out of that. The drive itself currently does not line directly across from K-Lin. That would cause some traffic conflicts as people are leaving the event center. Our recommendation will be, was provided in my letter to the board, or to the commission, is to have that drive realigned center line to center line with K-Lin to minimize the amount of conflict points we'll have when we have traffic there. I did note in my letter to the commission, when full detailed engineer plans are provided, again, these are just schematic level, these are not full detailed engineered plans. Some of the things that the city will be looking for will be stormwater management. This area does have some issues with flooding, not only upstream but downstream. And so any increase in impervious pavement will need to be controlled with a stormwater management facility on site. We'll be looking at sizing of culverts for the ditch and also for the stream line. We'll be looking at light photometrics. We'll want to have a light plan provided that shows the photometrics to make sure lighting is maintained within the property line. And one of the questions I had were on the easements, and we were provided those easements this week. Our concern was how we're gonna get access to center and be able to do some construction, but easements were provided. I did review those, and they appear there's enough room from those easements to allow them to make the improvements to the drive to meet the comments that this mentioned. So that's my report. If you have any questions, we'll be glad to answer them.
Should I include
Yeah, we can
John's letter at this point, or,
That's the, both of these should be put in the public record.
but I was gonna save that to kind of converse until we're at the public.
Okay, yeah, that's fine.
Since John's up.
Yeah, yeah, you can put John if you want.
Okay, so, I'm gonna follow the protocol here to the best of my ability. I do have a letter from one of our not present, members, from John Perdue. My thoughts on the Historic Farm hearing request to become an event center. As a New Franklin resident, I was impressed by the effort, property owners took to obtain Ohio Historic Site Preservation status for the Historic Farm. This is meaningful to our community and heritage. Now, as a proposed event center, my main concern is accessibility from Center Road. However, notes and recommendations from engineer Kevin Noble spell out how entry and exit can be constructed for the safety of everyone along the Center Road corridor. Concerns by neighbors should be negligible because of the limited event space available. Any groups would be small with minimal traffic and parking requirements, not big like Tudor House events. I will support the historic hearing request with any stipulations that may be added. So, at this point, we're gonna have a discussion among the commission members, and we'll proceed from there. Questions and comments?
What is the occupancy level of this proposed event center?
150 to 175 people.
Okay, 175. So how many cars do you think?
Well, that's the second, so based on the parking lot that you have there, what is, I mean, I realize it's a schematic level, as Kevin has described it, so it's probably not a finalized parking lot scale, but what is the number of cars that are approximately associated with that kind of event? So the parking lot size would be corresponding to that, are we assuming 2 people per car, or,
That is correct, that is assumption.
so then less than 100 cars?
Correct.
Okay.
So the total square footage of the event center as far as the public space?
It's approximately 2,400 square feet.
Okay, now, I'm looking at the drawings, you have, I'm gonna go off of the language on the drawing. I have in the ballpark of 3,800 square feet, based on how you had put it on there. And I was gonna ask questions regarding that, so I'm gonna get to that page. Upper level, I think that says 1854 multi-purpose, lower level 1591. Why did I get 3,800? Oh, I know what I did. It's 3,400 is what I have, is my number. When you're having an event, it says multi-purpose upper and lower, so I'm presuming you're gonna finish both upper and lower into an event space,
That's correct.
and people could use both as part of the event.
Right, but what we usually would be just one event at a time. It wouldn't be like party A would be upstairs and party B would be downstairs. It would be like one party would utilize both the upstairs and downstairs simultaneously. So that we don't envision there being, 2 events simultaneously at the historic farm.
Will there ever be multiple events in one day where you have one from, say, 1 to 5, and another one from 7 to 10, or?
There very well could be, yes. And it would really be just on a Friday, Saturday. So I think in that example with 2 events, it might be a Saturday, and then on a Friday, more likely be just one event.
Because our requirement for this type of facility is 101 per 150 square feet of usable
Is it one per what?
One per 150 square feet,
One parking
parking
space?
space per 150
That's
square.
minimally.
That's minimally, yes.
They're anticipating they're gonna be in excess of that, based on what they're saying here. They're,
Okay.
I'm sorry, notes on most of the pages. Any other questions from anybody else while I'm sorting? I'm sorry.
Well, I know I for one would like to see a drawing, a plat of this easement, of both of these easements.
Right.
If I can approach, I have paperwork, if I can approach, I can give you copies.
Yeah, please do. If you want to just deliver that straight to Mark, it'd be fine.
Okay. That's the one.
And then this is the second. So
That's
that's for the east of Gar, or I'm sorry, to the west, and that's to the east.
Okay,
And this is an attachment that I actually copied of this.
Okay.
This is for the property to our west, and this is the street. That's the actual document.
Yeah.
So that we could have.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, you need to keep that down. Yeah. Now, this one's to the east.
Yes, I'm sorry, that's the east. Now you have the actual legal document as well. And then this is the one that's to the west. To the west. And that's to the west.
I've got this. That's one of the things I want. But first of all, I wanted to see, at this event center, are the events going to be indoors only?
They would be inside the barn, but then, we would also have, like a garden area or so somebody could step outside the barn and so, but any, dancing or anything such as that would be physically inside.
Individual inside, okay.
Part of, we're working with an event planner that has worked with other event centers and owns one. And one of the things that she's indicating, what really appealed to us about the property is just the land there, just the beauty of it and stuff. So I think it would be a shame to just come there and not go outside, because that's part of the beauty of that whole site is the outdoor, and that's why we want to maintain the 40+ acres in the back, as it's a natural environment, because that's part of the beauty of that site.
It appears to be partially a natural amphitheater with the entrance to the facility on the back side. Correct? The big doors.
Right, but that's just the way it was built in the 1850s.
Exactly. But if those doors are open with, with music and all that stuff pouring out of it, I'm thinking that the fact that it's on an uphill, that the music would not travel as far. It would be muted by the upslope and the trees in the surrounding area.
If I could take a moment to comment on that, I actually did do some, I have so many things. I did actually do some research on that. So if, to your point, if you are in open air and you have 110 decibels of sound intensity, if you extend that roughly the distance from where you are to the street, it would be a reduction of about 30 decibels, so it would be audible but not loud. So to your regard, having those things, that's if it's unobstructed from one to the street. As far as what it does going backwards, projecting uphill, I would imagine that would deaden some of it as well. But obviously, we're looking at a conditional use here. I would imagine one of the conditions of this is going to be that any music, any amplification, PA system must be inside if it's going to be occurring. And since you have those large barn doors in the back, it would be preferable if they're not aimed at the opening in the door. So, does that start to address what you were just saying? Yeah, I did a few calculations, I'm gonna pile on what you just said, so
I got one
keep
more.
going.
Okay. Center Road. Okay. I have lived out here for most of my life, 66 years. Matter of fact, I delivered papers on Kalen Drive many years ago when I was in junior high and high school. I'm very familiar with that stretch of road. And I can tell you that it is not real safe along there, especially if you're walking. And cars do treat that S-curve as like a ski slope. They want to, and just to let you know, the other day, I was going on Center Road, going the speed limit, okay? I'm around the corner, there's a UPS truck at the driveway going to the big house that sits up on the hill on the right. Well, that's kind of shocking when you can't see something that big. And I know people go a lot faster than 40 miles an hour through there. And I'm wondering if the ODOT regulations take that into account.
Yeah, again, ODOT standards are gonna be based on,
The speed limit.
yes, but to answer the question, Mark, it is based on design, and so design is always 10 miles over posted. So posted 40, and their calculations are based on 50. So any road is always designed 10 miles more than the speed limit.
Okay.
So, again, that's why I kind of preface when I started that thing, really as an engineer, I have standards to live by, I have standards designed by. That's the standard that we live by in our world is ODOT standards, and it does meet that, and, it is based on somebody going 10 miles an hour over the speed limit.
Can I piggyback on this? Your recommendation refers to making a left out of the driveway, which would put you on the straighter section of this. To the right is the S-curve. Obviously, we're not in the situation to have those numbers right now. Is that something we could have for?
Yeah, so really the project engineer, design engineer, and I kind of note that in my letter is, it's his responsibility to provide that to the city for our part. To me, if you look at that, Paul, the worst case is if I'm at that drive and I'm looking to the right through the S-curve, I gotta take a left to go east. That's the worst case.
Okay.
So if I didn't do the right, because right, I'm looking back towards, and really that's a straight shot there. So my worst case is, but to answer your question, part of their submittal will be not only that's what we call a horizontal view, there's also a vertical view. And, I need to know, is there any obstructions, trees or posts or anything like that? That'll be part of at the end of the day, they've got to meet ODOT standards.
Our service director, Brian Kepler, is also here. I'm curious, I'm sorry, I'm looking out there somewhere in space. I'm not putting you on the spot. If you had any thoughts here, we would love to hear from you. If you do not, I'm not forcing you to.
With the approach out of that driveway, it's a lot easier to see up that S-curve. Like Kevin was saying, there's elevation issues, could be, but that's more his speed with the engineer. But seeing out the driveway to the west, it's a lot easier seeing out of K-Lynn when you're pulling out of K-Lynn to the west. So it is a little easier out of that driveway.
Is there a, I mean, I don't know what it takes to put a speed reduction in or anything like that on a road. I mean, you know, they have reduced speed during curves. Is that something that's a possibility on?
Yeah, we could reduce that down.
And the other thing is to make sure that the right of way is completely clear. Because those trees hanging out there, those branches does cause a problem. And I was just kind of playing around with the idea of maybe doing some minor sightline adjustments within the road right of way, if that was possible. That would help the sight lines at that intersection on both the north and south side. I'm just bringing that up for comment. As far as walking along there, it's not a place you want to walk. Mhm.
Any other?
I think one of the things, when I think about the curve and people kind of rolling along out of, you know, habit, maybe a little faster than that, you know, you wish they would. One of the things I think there's potential for is not necessarily living in the neighborhood and not knowing that this change has happened. Somebody comes home for the holidays, comes cruising through, it's nighttime, you can't see. What is the, what kind of thought work have you done around, you know, early morning for someone who's coming down the road? Let's say we can't change the speed, or, you know, is there something around signage or lighting that would help signal someone safety wise? I'm just thinking about the safety of the neighborhood, you know, and what a shame would it be to have this facility work out. Everybody in the neighborhood happens to be happy with it, it's fine, the noise is managed, everything else is managed, but, you know, we missed a spot. Is there something that we can look at from that perspective, just to increase the safety in that?
Is there a planned sign for the front?
There would be a plain sign, there's would be like almost like an arch over in the distance, and then have like an address and then signage on it for just sort of fun, and that would be lit. But we want to have it back from the street a little bit, so it would be right in the street, but we envision it almost being across the right of way. So I don't know if that answers a question, or it almost sounds like you're asking about signage on the street.
Or at least the ability to see from the street. And I understand, you know, aesthetically you want to have a certain look. You know, is there something you can do it's down, the sun's gone down, it's dark. Can you have, you know, maybe foot lighting, something along these lines that would help just to call it out as someone's cruising down that road? You know, if you're having a wedding and people are coming out late, it's dark, you know.
Some road signage could be done, couldn't it? Like, especially for K-Land, you know, say no outlet, so that people don't.
Yeah, there's ODOT has compliant signs that obviously can be added. I mean, that's stuff the city can do.
So both sides of this, or the culvert, is there gonna be a guardrail on either side of the apron?
We were not envisioning.
Is that, I don't know if that's a concern either by the city engineer or the service director,
What's the status of that little stream that runs through there? Is that a NPD in too many years?
So, yeah, it's not a U.S. state, it's not designated as U.S. waters, what we're referring to. It is not. But there are still, there's not a riparian setback on it, but it is still part of a drainage course, so it still needs to be protected. And kind of, a little bit in my letter, yeah, there's a culvert there now. if we, obviously, we're gonna do this driveway work to improve that, that culvert will need to be replaced and probably upsized based on our new regulations. So there will be, in my mind, there's gonna be some new drainage work done in there to make sure we are properly handling. We obviously don't want to back water up into the roadway.
Any further questions, comments? For now? All right, I'm gonna move to the next phase of this. Let's see. Sorry, pardon me while I organize here again. Alright, so, at this point, we're gonna talk to individual, or allow individuals speaking for this or ask questions regarding the request. Before I do that, I'm gonna read, one from one of the neighbors here, and then we'll talk to people in the audience. Unfortunately, I'm sorry, so who this may concern? Unfortunately, we cannot attend this meeting on January 18, 2024. We are emailing our concerns about the request to establish an event center, excuse me, on parcel 2301931. Our first issue is a safety concern for all vehicles heading east on Center Road. It is our guest, those attending an event, will be entering and leaving the property at the current access point on Center Road. This will present a possible traffic accident because the S-curve just west of the entrance access. On the west point of the curve, the entrance point is not visible to the driver. This will pose a safety issue to any driver heading east, especially those who do not heed the speed limit. I believe we have addressed that with your. Our second concern is another safety issue on Kalen Drive. We are confident that Kalen Drive will become a turnaround point for attendees who missed the entrance and are unsure of where they are going. We are one of the first movers on Kalen Drive and do not want our driveway to become that turnaround point. Traffic on this road will increase and pose a safety issue for all residents on this road. In addition to the safety issue, we'll change a quiet road to a busy road with every event. We do not want this needless traffic on Kalen. I believe with your recommendation or requirement, they would have to be directly across. It could not become a turnaround point. Our third concern has to do with an increase in foot traffic on Center Road and the surrounding roads. I've lived on Kalen Drive for over 40 years and have walked both Center Road and Kalen Drive. Center Road has a lot of traffic with drivers who see the speed limit. It's not safe to walk. Safe road to walk or even cross. There are very few street lights on Center Road. Crossing at night poses a real danger, especially after someone has been drinking alcohol. This is not a good idea. Our last concern has to do with the traffic, the noise pollution that will add to our quiet neighborhood. Simply stated, events bring noise, traffic noise, vehicles moving in and out of the event center, parking lots are noisy, people loudly enjoying themselves create noise, and music playing late in the evenings brings unwanted noise. Sound travels. In fair weather, residents have windows and doors open to enjoy the fresh air. The noise will interfere with our quiet evenings. If there's anything further that needs to be done to stop this request, please advise us. I do hope our concerns are taken into considerations, even though we are not attending the public hearing. Respectfully submitted, John and Cindy Stone. So that brings us to individuals speaking for the request.
Oh, boy.
Individuals who have questions.
I'm speaking for it.
Oh, you are speaking
Yeah.
for it? Oh, sorry. Come on up. And if you would state your name and address.
My name is Lisa Jacob. I reside at 6788 Manchester Road. I am a business owner of Occasions Party Center at 6800 Manchester Road. The board that I'm speaking for is bring on businesses into New Franklin. I am all for that, but at the same time, I am not willing to take the city's money and pay for all these gutters and traffic signs and everything else. My taxes are very high to begin with. Not only our residents know that, but for businesses, my taxes are extremely high. So whatever you do for the new business coming in, we would like you to do for other businesses as well. When you talk about decimals of music and you're asking them to move the band in an open space so it wouldn't be so loud when you open the big doors, that is unheard of. The noise is going to go out through those doors or whatever open windows that they have. Are you looking at putting in air conditioning?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so the doors can be kept closed and windows can be kept closed, obviously, with air conditioning. I'm sorry, I get nervous in front of a very large crowd. And does not the fire department dictate how many, or what the capacity is for each level on that, in that facility? You say that it's not going to be as big as a Tudor house, but it is. 175 to 200 people is an awfully large crowd, even to have at the Tudor house. So he said it was going to be a small number, but then he talked about 175 to 200 people. That is probably, also when he talked about never having two events on one day, or I'm sorry, two events at the same time. What about one event bringing in 175 people to 200 people? Then you'd be using both upstairs and downstairs.
Yes.
So, right. But I don't think you would have understood. So, and once more, I'd like to say that the courtesy of any taxes or any money put into their facility for the city should be given to other business owners and residents as well. One last note, is the city thinking about giving any city tax breaks to the new event?
We're the zoning commission, we don't deal with tax breaks.
Okay. I do know that they did evaluate, or the money that they're going after is $1.8 million. The state
So before you
is
continue, so again, that's gonna be an issue for you to probably take up with council, not here. It's, yeah.
Okay, but it doesn't sound like a $1.8 million. I'm just saying that they're getting $250,000 from the state for tax reductions and off of their taxes. So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
All right, that brings us to individuals speaking against the request. It doesn't have to be like, if you have questions, you're welcome to continue coming up.
Hello.
There you go.
Hi, my name is Greg Lawson. I live at 219 Center Road, which is a log cabin on top of the hill. I'm sure most of you guys know it. I also own the 5 acres that butts up right to what will be the Soric Farm LLC. I'm here with my wife, Andrea, who's a Manchester resident. And listen, it's my observation, anyhow, that it seems the city council wants to approve zoning. At least that's my observation. And I commend the team here because I'm a business owner myself, and it seems a lot of thought has been put into this. I give them credit. My concern is pretty much everything that's been voiced today: noise pollution, traffic. I hunt that property, and I can tell you if I yell just a normal voice, the whole neighborhood hears it. I'm actually here with my, like I said, my wife and my neighbor Tom. And I feel that I'm invested in this community. We could very easily live anywhere in the world, but we have chosen to raise our family here. And I just don't want that to be, all about big business, millions of dollars. It just seems like we've forgotten about the people. And I'm here today to speak for the people. So, thank you.
My name is John Schatzley, and I came in here not knowing anything about the project other than the name. Now that I've heard some details, it sounds a little better than I had imagined that it could be. However, there's a few things I'd like to clarify. It appears, right now I'm in the allotment that has 3 exits of the allotment to this property, one off of Fern Lane, one off of Iva, and one off of Deborah. It appears that your proposal does not touch any of those roads and those exits. You have no plans to use any of that. That's correct? Or, well,
Is there appropriate address?
Yeah.
That is correct. Okay, just wanted to clarify that. The other thing you referred to was the east plot and the west plot. Whereas the thing you held up, I was trying.
That was a question in regards to the access, that when the property that we purchased does not have access.
If you'd like to come up, I can show you what he's referring to.
So these are easements that are obtained.
Yeah, I'm just saying that to clear this up for
Yeah,
you.
just, if you want to come over here,
Yeah, the
I'll,
hatched line.
so this is Center Road, this is the driveway, the easement is this little section right next to it that allows, so this is literally right up against Center Road, so what you're referring to.
The references to east and west.
So this would be
Center Road.
yeah, on Center Road, so.
Oh, okay, well, yeah, what I was trying to figure out is just how close all this comes to me. You know, what I really would like to see, I mean, you've got a 41 acre plot, and I believe he has a picture of it. You know, just to see my house, where it is relative to this whole plan. And that's something I can look at after the meeting. But another thing is, I'm not at all familiar with the total process, but it seems like you have to change the zoning. No, you do not change the zoning. Okay,
So to clarify that, this is a conditional use, which means this is zoned R2. R2 has multiple applications, R standing for residential, but because it's residential, it doesn't exclude anything else, or it doesn't exclude everything else. In this particular case, this would be a conditional use, as in it could be approved with conditions to make it acceptable for that area.
well, the second thing that I really didn't know until I got here, and I'm still not sure, but it appears that after this meeting, you're going to make a recommendation to the council, is that correct?
So
They're gonna
if you,
put on it?
I can address that to you directly here, and then we'll talk about the probability of these things. But the commission may recommend approval of the request, and the commission may recommend denial of the request. The commission may recommend approval of the request with conditions. The commission may continue the request. So to be clear about this, any of the first three automatically go to council. So if we approve it, deny it, or approve it with conditions, it's going to council. So the council is going to have the final say on this.
Okay.
So what we're looking at here is the site plan and the conditions that make this viable. I don't think this is probably a hidden thing to you, but given the fact that our engineer has said this is in the schematic stage of it, we're not at a point where we can approve anything. We're at a point where it'd be too difficult to put the numerous conditions on this to say all these things need to happen, which we then need to verify before it could go to council. So what this is likely to have happen is before we can make a full decision, and I don't think my counterparts would disagree with this, we're gonna need to see a more detailed thing, including the engineering drawings for the culvert. I'm sorry, I'm doing this from memory instead of looking at the list that was there. The lighting, there's gonna be X number of things. So there's not gonna be an approval this evening. So we're looking at another zoning meeting before we ever get to that point.
Another zoning meeting before you make the recommendation.
Right. Yeah.
So a meeting like this.
If everybody shows up
Yeah.
again, then sure.
Sometimes if you,
Then you make your recommendation, whatever,
Yeah.
to council.
Right.
At that point, is there any more input that can
At
come
council,
from the public?
it'll be a public hearing for
Public
council.
input at that point?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I guess that about takes care of what I had in mind.
Yeah.
based on what you were talking about at the ends of Deborah and Fern Lane,
Yes.
Kevin, do you think that those have reservation strips at the end of them?
They do not. This parcel is set up, when this subdivision was created a long time ago. It was set up for that future development of this parcel as R2 residential. So there's no reservation strip there. That could be developed as a residential subdivision, and it would have access off those drives.
Could someone put a driveway in? Yeah.
That's a public street. Sure. It's a public access, you have access to, you have frontage on a public street, you put a driveway off of it.
So there could be a driveway off of there unless we would put a condition.
That's gonna bring a question about, so you said you have the forestry, are you, before I cut you, have you asked all your questions or made comments? I'm sorry.
Well, I was going to, on this, what he's just talking about, the original development, the road on both Iva and Fern Lane were designed to extend and then go to the east and then turn north and go behind all the houses that are there and then connect on Deborah, so that it would have been a total circle. Now, what I was concerned about is this potential circle going to end up as an entrance to this event center in the future or sometime? Right now, it appears it's all on Center Road, but it would make a big difference if it happens to turn out to be an entrance from Deborah or Fern Lane.
Right.
I'm gonna have our zoning administrator make a comment.
Yeah, I wanted to make a point that Mr. Furkowski and I had talked about the access points off of Deborah and up in that area. And if you remember, I made a point that would not be a good idea to drive any traffic through a residential neighborhood like that. I mean, we talked about that early on, that that's really a no-go on that.
The forestry thing, you have a forest management plan, is that through the state where you get the,
It's through the county, so we have, in the purchase of the property, there's 13 acres that respond. So with that, through the county, we get a
CAUV.
CAUV.
Okay.
So it's an agricultural tax, or agricultural property tax. And it's it's a standard procedure that anybody in Summit County would farm over 10 acres. So the property's always had 13 acres farmed. But then we recently added a forest management plan for 28 acres. And I have a site plan I can.
I'm just curious though, is that,
So basically what happens is with having the forest management plan, we've increased the
amount of property that is under the CAUV from 13 to 40 acres.
but is the forestry management plan the thing through the state forestry?
No, it's just a private consultant.
Okay.
They gave us some input on how to, best manage the options in the forest world is you can just clear cut it, take all the trees down and let it grow. Or you can just let it grow, mature 10 years and then selectively cut some of the trees down. So.
Other.
And then, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I have the documentation regards that if any of the members would be interested in seeing that paperwork with those two different things.
Any other?
Debbie Marrow, 5282 Kalen Drive. Kalen Drive is also residential. And so, to me, if the curve in the road on Center Road is a problem, then if you had access on Deborah or whatever those roads are back there too, you would eliminate some of the traffic going out to Center and disperse it both directions, since we're all residential.
I'm not sure if I'll need the microphone. You guys hear me? My name is Tom Belter, 191 Center Road, White House, up here on the hill next to Greg. I've been there 10 years. My wife and I bought it when she was pregnant with our first daughter. I grew up, born and raised in Coventry. Became friends with a lot of people in the Manchester area. Decided this is where I want to raise my family because of the community here. I heard a lot of people talk about the traffic. And one thing that I didn't hear get brought up was turning left or getting off on Main Street off the Center Road on a summer day. 4 o'clock, 5 o'clock, or whatever it is. It's about to, I've seen traffic almost to 200 yards probably deep So you had 100 cars coming in and out of there at any given time, that's gonna be a nightmare. So in my opinion, there's no way around it without a red light or something at the end of Center Road. Other thing to consider is the commercial vehicles that a venue would bring in, beer truck, catering trucks, things like that, and the noise associated with that, and how difficult is it gonna be for those guys to get in and out of that driveway? Whether it be a tractor trailer or a box truck or whatever it is. The noise is a concern of mine. I'm not a big fan of, inviting 150 strangers right down the street to come party until 10 or 11 o'clock at night and drink and have a good time, because, some people may be good people, but maybe some people that show up aren't great people. But if people get intoxicated, or they're gonna vandalize or litter or anything like that on the way out, those are the concerns that I have. Another concern I have is the surrounding area where the easements are, is any of that wetlands. I know you guys touched on it or looked at it, and maybe it wasn't, but the barn that's in between the two, where the drain is that you spoke about, is protected wetlands from what I was told.
It's category 1.
I have that in writing, purchasing that property a while back, and it was, I was told that basically you couldn't do too much with it because of the wetlands. And then after it's sold, there were bulldozers in there, and they're clearing things out, and now it's like a mechanic shop. So that would be the second business that came, pretty close to my residence, where I've invested a couple $100,000 and where I want to spend the rest of my life. Just put more money into my house and I'll get out of it. So this is pretty hard for me to stomach. So that's all I got. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Just to comment on the one thing, nothing about that business on Center Road has come through zoning, so I don't.
It has, and I have that in writing. Barry Gano and I, along with the EPA.
I'm sorry, it did not come through the Planning and Zoning Commission.
I believe it did.
Yeah.
But
Did it?
Like
No.
a while
a
ago.
while ago, years ago.
Years.
But I have that, I have 20
I've been
emails.
10 years, so I don't recall that coming through, so.
No, that didn't go through. No, we didn't have it.
If I could have your email addresses, I'll be happy to forward that to you.
I'll send it to the zoning
Okay.
administrator. Okay, what else?
Sally Hammond. Sally Hammond, and I live at 5235 Galen Drive. The problem I have is when they go around that S-curve, and if they miss that driveway, are they going to be coming up our road and turning around because it is a circle and there's no outlet? And we have plenty of people that come up our street and go right back out. That's my concern.
So to address that, if this was to go through, Mr. Noble had said that the entrance has to be directly across from Caitlin, so if they miss the entrance, they're missing Caitlin as well.
Okay.
So I don't know how they would turn into one and not the other.
But they would have to move their driveway.
That's the requirement, yes.
Okay.
Others?
Kurt Franks, 5220 Kalen's. The concern of the traffic is my biggest concern, and I think she said that, Deborah and those back there, they're residential too. Those streets were made to continue on, so why wouldn't they just continue on with this and safety be completely out of the picture of Center Road? Not just have the property, I believe, goes all the way to Caston, isn't it? The 41 acres. So can't something be done over all the way to Caston for an exit as well? I don't know what easement you guys, if you have any easement over there, to Caston Road, but the other concern is who will secure these events? Is it gonna be our police department that we're paying for out of our taxes? They just provide their own security, pay security, 175 people, it's gonna drinking's gonna be a problem.
Others?
Terry Prezos, 438 Center. I am glad that somebody's fixing up the property. My concern is with the surrounding neighborhood and the effect that an event center would have. I do appreciate the fact that you took some of that into consideration. If a condition would be made that there is no outdoor loudspeakers because of the lay of that property, it would funnel noise directly to center, K-Land, Daly area. The traffic definitely is a concern. People take the speed limit as a challenge. Going through that S-curve. The sight line that was checked, was that checked at the current driveway or the driveway as it would be if it was changed to align with K-Land?
So it was checked at the existing driveway. If it's moved, the requirement we're making right now is going to be moved towards the west, the line with K-Land. It'll actually improve that a little bit. But it was, all I was checking was the existing conditions, so the existing location.
An event center has the potential to cause increased traffic, noise and light disturbances, so any mitigation that can help with those. There's also, in our comprehensive plan, it talks about some growth is required, but evaluate multiple repetitive businesses. There are 5 or 6 event venues in New Franklin already. So that might be taken into consideration. But I appreciate what you have already looked at and have already answered some of the questions that me and some of the people have. Thank you.
Before we continue, we're an hour and 10 minutes into this meeting, so a lot of redundant things are coming up. So if you have something new to add, please come up. If you're going to repeat some of the same stuff, we're going to be here for a long time. And again, you had another comment?
Yeah.
Would you please state your name again?
John Chesley. Just one question about what's the time schedule of all this happening? You know, well, not just their work, but I mean your recommendations, council, you know, what are we looking at, months, weeks?
So to your question, if, like I said, we're looking at a schematic. If we say we're going to continue this for another meeting, protocol would require us to have a minimum of 10 days notice. 14 days notice. So it'd be 14 days before we could have the next meeting, which based on the fact that unless we could get it in the paper tomorrow, it would probably be 3 weeks from now for the next meeting. At which point, if we make the recommendation, everything is ready, it would then go to council, and council has a waiting period of...
I'm just reading here, based on the public hearing, let me see what it says about the council part.
I would say no less than 2 months before we're sitting at council. Now with council, I can't tell you council's protocols for dealing with this, if they could continue it, if they could, what would happen there.
I can read this if you want me to.
Yeah, Barry will read.
I'll read the city council action. Upon notification of final action and recommendation by the Planning and Zoning Commission, City Council shall set a time for a public hearing on a proposed conditional use permit. The hearing shall be held within 30 days following notification or as soon thereafter as practicable. Notice of the public hearing shall be posted on the city website and published for 2 consecutive weeks prior to the hearing in a newspaper of general circulation or in such other fashion as the Ohio legislature might dictate. At the conclusion of the public hearing, or within 90 days thereafter, City Council shall either adopt or deny the recommendations of the Planning and Zoning Commission, or adopt some modification thereof, all by a simple majority vote. At least 2/3 affirmative vote of City Council shall be required for the passage of any ordinance or resolution is contrary to the recommendation of the Planning and Zoning Commission. Second is an idea.
Answer.
You guys sit in your meetings and they, council, that's in theirs.
Any further comments?
I just have a couple questions. John mentioned 5245 Kalen. Kurt brought it up, or somebody brought it up, there will be some sort of security or police at the events, correct?
It's a private property, so it would not be the New Franklin Police Department. If there was security, it would be something that we would pay for. It would not be New Franklin.
Okay. Can we, would that be something we can make a requirement as far as the amount of people that would have a place?
More the expert on this. Is there an existing condition? I'm sorry, I've looked at it, but I don't remember off the top of my head. Is there a condition already prescribed about security, or is that just a condition we'll put into place?
I think it's a condition of thing, it's not in our code.
Okay.
I do believe they can employ police officers from the
Oh, yeah.
city, but they're responsible for the,
I think his question is though along the lines of, is it a requirement or is it a condition we can impose? Do we already have, is it a requirement if you're gonna have an event that you have security?
Not in the zoning code. Not in the zoning code, no.
And like anywhere? I'm just asking
Yeah,
purely out of.
No, I don't, it's not in the zoning code, but it could be a condition of what we do, yes.
Okay. And if it was one of our police, just for the traffic, obviously, we're doing some big things, everybody, is it possible for them to direct traffic when event is over? Obviously, people leave a wedding at different times, but the majority are gonna leave towards the end. Is it possible for them to direct traffic on Center when all those people are leaving?
That's probably a condition beyond what we did, but here,
Sure.
that's.
Sure.
Yeah.
And the reason, and I know the ODOT regulations and everything like that, we've all been around long enough to know at Renninger in the center, there's flashing lights, it's clear sight line, and how many accidents are there every year. So along the S curves, late at night, people have been drinking, it's a concern for everybody. Who is the event company that's gonna be managing the property?
We haven't finalized it.
Okay.
So.
Gotcha. And if there was an issue, would there be somebody we can contact?
Of course.
Okay. Because obviously we don't want to call the cops every time there's an issue. I do that with Doug and Sally all the time. How late will the events be allowed to go?
I believe.
We can set conditions.
We can set conditions on that, but what is the noise?
What's the noise on
The no-
10 o'clock?
10, I believe.
10.
10 o'clock would be the latest. That doesn't mean the event could go beyond that, but the noise would have to be.
Sure. And then, just because we haven't heard much about the farmhouse, obviously, again, we've all been to weddings before, we've stayed on the site afterwards. How many people fit in the farmhouse?
The farmhouse has 3 bedrooms, so it's a 2-bath. So what we really envision, it would just be, one family, it might be the bride and groom.
Okay.
But there's, again, it's 3 bedrooms and then 2 bathrooms.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Eric Roberts, live at 427 Hyman Avenue. I bring up a few things that, first of all, I regret that we didn't have the opportunity for a hearing like this for the event center that is at the Tudor House. Because I live relatively close to there and within a mile, and I can hear the music going on several nights a week, and it's a concern for our neighborhood. So that's as a lot of people have already brought up. So sound and light pollution, don't know if those are conditions we can impose upon an event center or to a certain occupancy for the event or eliminate amplified music outside. And not to repeat things that other people have said, but I did look at conditional use permit review criteria, and the first couple of things that came to mind were, is this request harmonious with and in accordance with the comprehensive plan or specific area plan goals? And is the use designed, constructed, operated, and maintained to be harmonious and appropriate with the existing and planned character of the general vicinity and will not change the essential character of the area? I know these are charged with evaluating when looking at a conditional use permit. And those are the things that stuck out in my mind. I'm not against having an event center. I'm in favor of having an event center that might comply with the expectations of both our comprehensive code, zoning code, comprehensive plan, and zoning code, and sound ordinances and things like that. At my house, I try not to make so much noise so my neighbor isn't concerned, and I expect the same courtesy from you.
I'm going to answer this. I would say there's going to be more noise coming from Center Road with the vehicles. Motorcycles and the loud cars. Yeah.
Then the,
At any given time, I mean, 2 o'clock in the morning.
okay, so at this point, again, we're not at a point where we're making a decision to approve or deny, and we're most certainly not putting conditions on this evening. I'm gonna make a motion to continue the request, and so this is where I'm gonna ask for your input. We're looking for additional things from an engineering point of view, so I don't want to continue it in 2 weeks if that's not adequate time to do it, but we do have a time frame on this. So Barry, I'm going to look for some advice on how to manage what we're doing here. What is our maximum time for continuance?
It continues to the following month.
We can continue this for a month from now. So if we try to schedule it 4 or 5 weeks from today, as is practical, would that give you adequate time to provide the list that Mr. Noble has?
Yes. Appreciate that opportunity.
So then I'm going to make a motion to recommend continuance of this meeting until the engineering documentation has been provided, which we're going to allow for, when we say 5 weeks from today, and we look at the dates and kind of make sure this is going to work out.
Once we have the time to be advertisements.
Well, it'll be
14, 14 days.
I think they were saying more than 14 days is what's necessary, but we have an upper limit if we're going to continue it, because we're within the confines of the code. Sorry, I'm bringing up my calendar.
And that's up to the gentleman whether they're going to have anything at that time.
5 weeks. 5 weeks. Okay, so today is the 18th, 25th, 5th, 1st, 8th, that's 3, 15th, 22nd of February. Is that 5 weeks? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yeah, okay. February 22nd?
So that's satisfactory.
If you are.
Yeah, yes, that's fine, thank you.
So we'll have a continuance of this meeting on February 22nd, 2024 at 6:30 PM here at the New Franklin City Hall.
We'll do a roll call on that.
I'm making a motion to.
Okay, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Okay, second by Mr. Cohiser. Okay, we're going to do a roll call on that. Ms. Huey? Okay, Mr. Cohiser?
Yes.
Mr. Conley?
Yeah.
And Mr. Donatello?
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 4-0 to continue.
Make a motion to conclude our public hearing.
Okay. Give a second on the.
I'll second.
Okay. Okay, I can just do a voice vote on that. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, public hearing is closed.